Welcome to The Guide at Fish North Georgia. Brought to you by these fine sponsors. SPRO, working with America's best anglers to design the world's finest fishing tackle. Nichols Lures, handcrafted to perfection. Georgia Blade, makers of premium fishing lures for over 3 decades and home to the Georgia Jig. Crypto Bass, tournament grade, Georgia made. And be sure to visit fishnorthgeorgia.com. Now here's Sammy Benitez.
Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, it's Sammy Benitez with Fish North Georgia, the guide, and I hope you like that little intro I included of my recent trip to Hickory Log Creek Reservoir. So this particular trip, I made a post on the Fish North Georgia group page saying I've got an open seat in my boat. If anybody wants to come, please hit me up. So I had one taker, and his name was Chris McFarland. So me and Chris met up at the reservoir early before sunrise. We loaded up the boat, and we trolled out about mid-lake, more or less, and started working our way from the main lake point going down in through the creek channel. So we were kind of following the creek channel. If you've got a graph, you'll see it maybe 50, 60 foot below the surface. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on. You know, it comes up to maybe 20, 25 foot of water before making its way up to the bank. And so those channels is what I've been focusing on most of the summer, and I will continue to focus through the fall. The fish are slowly making their way back to the backs of these creek channels. So when we started catching them close to secondary points. So not all the way in the back, not all the way at the main lake, but anywhere in between, anywhere there's a point where fish could ambush, come up from the sides, from behind, push them up the banks. That's kind of what we were focusing on. We actually saw a lot of activity up against the bank. You just have to be there to see it and to cast to it if you're going to try and target those fish, pushing the bait up. But they were there for the first hour or two of the morning. So in this particular cove, we threw a lot of techniques from spinner baits, deep divers, mid divers, square bills, jerk baits, paddle tails. And the few things that ended up working was I caught 2 on a chug bug in what appeared to be open water, but if you have a graph, you'll see it's just the secondary point making its way out, and I believe that's what those bass are relating to. So a couple on that top water bite. Chris caught a couple on a Tokyo rig just up against the bank, and then we caught maybe 3 or 4 more on a drop shot off of that secondary point. All in total, our first spot we caught, I think, about 7 fish. So it turned out to be a pretty good area, but once the bite started to slow down, we decided to move on to a second cove to see what was happening there closer to the dam. And so we fished from main lake all the way to the back with only one little nibble, which I believe to be a bluegill, just bit the tail off of my drop shot. As we got to the very back of this cove though, where I know it usually holds a lot of grass, I can see the grass was already brown, it had already pulled back a lot. So there wasn't much structure cover for these fish to relate to. So as we trolled out of there, I actually saw 2 decent fish swimming away. So I guess some fish are pulling in, but maybe we came in too abrupt, not with the right techniques. So we didn't hook up with these fish, but there are some back there. Something I haven't mentioned, I forgot to mention, the water temps were around 82, 83 degrees on this particular day. So they're cooling down. I mean, we saw in the peak of the summer 90, 91, so we definitely dropped a little bit. These fish are definitely starting to react to the temperature change and the shorter days. So after being unsuccessful in that cove, we moved over to the lily pads. It was about 10:30 in the morning, and so I tied on a 1-ounce tungsten with a crawl type bait and started punching through the pads, as well as flipping right in front of it. Usually I have some success doing that, or flipping something like a fluke just right in front of the pads with that slow fall. A lot of times you'll be able to pull a fish out. This particular day, had no luck. Chris actually hooked up with one right up against the bank, fishing over the lily pads. It happened so fast that by the time he set the hook, the fish had already let go, but we could see it zoom up and take off back into the pads. So there's definitely some fish in there, but we weren't able to hook up with anything. So as we made our way back to the ramp, we were just fishing main lake points. I was throwing a square bill and Chris was throwing a spinnerbait, just a white spinnerbait with willow leaf blades. And the wind really picked up, so there was a lot of broken water, a lot of ripples on the water, which is great for moving baits. And this one particular main lake point, Chris hooked up with another bass. And as Chris brought it up to the boat, we could see 5 or 6 other bass just kind of swimming with it as he made his way all the way to the boat. I tried to cast into that and hook up with one, but none of them reacted. And so we just continued down to the boat ramp, and we came across this bank we were beating. And we saw a blow up what appeared to be open water, but if you follow the contours of the bottom of the lake, you're going to see that it kind of planes out around 12 to 15 foot, and then it drops down into the main lake channel. And that's pretty much exactly where that blow up happened. So Chris casted his spinnerbait out there, let it sink down a significant amount, and then he started bringing it back into the boat real slow. And right at the boat, we could both see the spinnerbait. We saw this large shadow rising right behind it. It looked like a catfish to me, even though I've never seen a catfish in the reservoir. But it was just so large, and I didn't see it from a side angle that I didn't know what it was. But sure enough, it opened its mouth, sucked in that spinnerbait. Chris set the hook, and we could see it flash sideways. It was a largemouth bass, took off down in the water. But it was about a 2-minute fight, and we got it in the boat. We weighed it. It weighed 6.9 pounds, which turned out to be Chris's PB bass. Chris's personal best. Really exciting moment. And we were able to release that fish. I really hope it made it back. I mean, it was a little bit of an ordeal. We had some issues. Learned from our experiences. But all in all, it turned out to be a super exciting day on Hickory Log Creek Reservoir. It is known for smaller fish, but there is some big ones in there, and there's opportunities to catch them. That particular weekend, there was several people who popped up with large fish on the Hickory Log Creek Reservoir page. So there was some big ones caught, so they're coming out. They're making their way up those creek channels. I would speculate around now, we just had a couple cool nights in a row. These fish are making their way to the backs. They're going to be there for a week or two, and they're going to start making their way back to those main lake points. So just look out for that. Keep that in mind when you're making your trips out there, trying to make a game plan. This particular trip, I have a full video on my YouTube page, Sammy Benitez. You can find me there. But I hope this helps you, guiding you on the Hickory Log Creek Reservoir, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace, guys.
Thanks for watching the guide here at Fish North Georgia. Our mission is to build a community of anglers to give you the best and latest information to make your day on the water more successful. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the bell so you'll be notified of any future content. Make sure you check us out at fishnorthgeorgia.com, where we carry a large variety of bait manufacturers from here in the North Georgia area. So we appreciate you being part of our community, and we'll see you soon.